Hello. Here I'm going to give you a demo of the pure HTTP transport proposal that I've put together. What you see on the screen here is the set of endpoints that are going to be supported in this proposal. What I've basically done is transformed the MCP messages that are being sent in the JSON RPC request and responses into basically HTTP paths and methods as you see here. And the request body and response bodies are just the relevant portions of the messages being sent back and forth, basically stripping off the JSON RPC message envelope. And there's a few caveats here. This is all in the transports.mdx file. But now let me get to the demo. So first I'm going to show you the server side of the demo. So we'll get this started. .NET Run. This is actually using a lot of the basic structures from the C# MCP SDK. And I'm going to show you what this looks like here in sort of the raw HTTP. First of all, because we're using ASP.NET Core and we can generate an OpenAPI file, we can actually see the OpenAPI with all of the endpoints and their parameters and request bodies and response bodies all fully described in the OpenAPI file for this. And we have a ping that's just sending a GET to the /ping address, and it responds with a 202 accepted. We can do a list of the tools by doing a get on /tools. You can see what that looks like here. Here's what a tool call looks like. We do a post on tools, get weather calls. This is passing in the arguments for that tool call, and that's what the response looks like. You can list resources. Now, the way that server to client interaction happens, the way the server sends messages to the client, is it can either send notifications or requests. And for notifications, the way that works is you can, here we're going to start subscribing to resources here. Okay, and that's going to start sending notifications, and we can request those notifications by doing a get to the notifications endpoint, and it sends a group of notifications. Now we can acknowledge those notifications by taking the group ID here and sending that back in this response. So we've acknowledged that. Now let me unsubscribe, and we'll get the next group of notifications. See, we've gotten more notifications, and we'll acknowledge those. And this way, the server can, keep efficient use of its resources by discarding notifications once it knows that these have been delivered. Okay, so now if we look one more time, we see none because we've unsubscribed and there were no more that were created. Now, elicitation is another interesting thing. Elicitation is when you need to send an actual request from the server down to the client. And the way that we do that is within a requests endpoint. So I'll get this tool call started. Now it's started, but it hasn't responded yet because the tool call is still active in the background. But we'll see that we actually have a request that's pending here. It's asking me if I want to play the game. It sent me a request ID. So this is how I match up the requests and the responses. So I'll put that there, and then I'll say, yes, I want to play that game. I should probably close this so that we can have a little bit more room. So that's accepted my response. I'm essentially sending a response to that request. And now I can see if there are any new requests. There is. It says, what's your name? So I'll respond to that one. I'll send this. My name is Mike. So it's accepted that. And now we go into playing the game. It says guess a number between 1 and 10. So I'll respond to that. I might have to cut some of this out depending upon how many guesses it makes me take. But let's try 5 to start. And let's see how that worked out. I was too high. Okay, so we'll try again. And what's happening on the server is it's putting those requests into a queue and waiting for me to respond, waiting for the client to make one of these requests, and then it will pass that back. So what was it? I was too high. So now I'll say 3. There we go. And that is actually the response to the tool call. Okay. Now that's how things work at the HTTP layer. I'll just show you now that I've also got a demo client set up here that I can show you. So let's .NET run. And this is just a CLI client, and it lets you do things like init and ping and list tools, list. Okay, and now I'll do that same demo. Tools call, guess the number. And so it initiates that. And then the request comes back down. Do you want to play the game? Yes. And I sent that response, and then it comes back down. What's the name of the player? Mike. Up and down. And look at that. I got it on the first try. So there's a very quick demo of the pure HTTP transport implemented in both the server and in the client.